And it was at that moment I realized she was not in the car. Well, back in 2016, Alex Roy and a couple of co-drivers broke the EV record. They did it in 55 hours. They also claimed an autonomous vehicle record, 97.7% autonomy. What's interesting is that EV record has been lowered several times, and it's now currently at 42 hours for an EV cannonball. But no one has challenged the autonomous record. 8 years and the advancements in technology and the charging infrastructure and the driving has improved, but no one's challenged it. Well, last year I stumbled across a DIY self-driving system called Comma AI. And in researching it, I found out it'll work in my Prius. It's simple system, mounts to the windshield of the car, plugs into the OBD port, and it takes over the self-lane centering and the adaptive cruise control and adds another layer to it where you can set the cruise control, let go of the steering wheel, and it'll navigate around curves, do the driving for you, maintain the speed. Well, that sounds great. Surely it can't be that simple. Bought the system, took me 15 minutes to install it in my Prius, pulled out, hit the cruise control, and was just blown away by how effective it was. The Comma AI system has a lot of built-in safety features. As a camera that's watching the driver, so if you're not paying attention, it'll alert you, warn you, driver, pay attention. And if you're not, it will turn off. If you disconnect the seatbelt, it'll completely shut down. Said driver not detected. So it has a forward-facing camera that maintains the lane. It is capable of stop and go driving in traffic. It doesn't recognize stop signs or stoplights. So it's still upon the driver to be focused, paying attention. But if you're pulling up to a stop sign or stoplight and there's a car ahead of you, it will follow that car and bring you to a complete stop behind that car. To get moving again, you just tap resume on the cruise control and lightly touch the gas pedal. It'll bring you forward again. Out on the highway, when you have the cruise set and you come up on a slower car and you want to change lanes, you simply communicate to the system, "Now I want to change lanes." You hit the turn signal. You just lightly bump the steering wheel. It will go to the left lane, accelerate to the speed you have it set as. When you pass the vehicle to get back over, just communicate, tell it, "Hey, want to hit the right turn signal." Just lightly nudge the steering wheel, let go, and it will get back in the lane. So it will do lane changes, but it does not use the blind spot mirrors to tell you there's a car beside you. If there is a car beside you when you do that lanes change, it will hit that car. It still requires the driver to be alert and tell it when it is safe to change the lanes and make these moves. This common AI system, it only having one camera versus the system Alex used in 2016, the Teslas have what, 6 cameras in them? So it's looking at traffic all around you, cross traffic, behind you. This one just has the 2 cameras, the forward-facing camera and the driver-facing camera. So it requires more human interaction, driver interaction. You can't just set it, grab a book, as we've seen the crazy viral videos, go to sleep. You have to be an active participant in this entire drive to be safe. Well, then become the issue of, can I do a cannonball in it? How fast can I go? Well, it's the software in it has a maximum speed setting of 90 miles an hour. So, you can go fast, but you're not doing crazy, 100 plus mile an hour speeds on the highway. The bigger issue was how to determine the percentage of autonomy. In the event to honor Brock Yates in the fall, I asked Alex, how did you determine the percentage of autonomy on that run? And he said that basically it was an estimate, a best guess that they could come up with. It would be as high as 98%, maybe as low as 96%. Anyone that's in the community knows if you make a run, especially if you're challenging a record, you need proof. You have to have verifiable evidence to prove the numbers. If you don't, no one's going to believe you. So I reached out to the software developers of this system and asked them, is there any way you can write code to determine the percentage of autonomy in every drive? And they were like, well, why do you want that? What's the use case? Why do you need it? I didn't exactly want to tell them ahead of time that I was planning a cannonball because in their mind, they were thinking 100 plus mile an hour speeds. All the government agencies that are scrutinizing what they're doing, they didn't want that liability. One developer said, well, we'll get it to you soon. It's a great idea. We'll implement it soon. That's been almost a year and they haven't done it yet. So I asked around, anyone had any ideas? And someone came up and says, why don't you use electrically conductive gloves so that every time you touch the steering wheel, it makes a connection and it logs the time on a cumulative timer. So that's what I did. Wrapped the steering wheel with electrically conductive tape, made a little jacket with gloves attached to it, wired up to a power supply, and on the dash was an accumulative timer. So every time you touched the steering wheel, it accumulated the total time you touched it. It was crude, but it worked. Did some testing with it. First drive, we did a 12-hour round trip drive in it just to see how good it did on the highway. And we were able to achieve 98% autonomy. Well, the next big issue was a co-driver. I've done several cannonballs and they've all been solo. My nonstop record solo, the musket ball solo, the Spanish trail solo. But on this run, since we're doing much slower speeds, I definitely wanted a co-driver. Talking with Alex Roy, he asked me twice if I needed a co-driver. And, you know, when the godfather of modern day cannonballing asked you if you need a co-driver, that was a really, really hard no to give. I still feel bad about that. I feel like it was a missed historical opportunity to do a run with Alex. I chose my wife to be my co-driver, and it really didn't take much coaxing to get her to come along. We've driven all over the country, some really long road trips together, been together almost 30 years. So I decided to use my co-driver of life to come along and set this cannonball run record. Some people jokingly refer to it a cannonball and chain. We set a date. We picked the start point of the Good Wife Shopping Center in Connecticut. The reason we chose that instead of the Red Ball Garage is that's where they started the run in 79, where we started the run there in the musket ball. But it was also logistics. Want to maximize every second that you're not touching the steering wheel. And if you know the shortcut out of the Good Wives, 3 right turns and you're on I-95 versus the Red Ball, have to navigate several stoplights, go through the tunnel, which require more time touching the steering wheel. The route is a little bit longer, but it's all on the interstate, and that was the goal, less time touching the steering wheel. In planning this drive, there was another group that were leaving also in a hybrid, a Ford Maverick hybrid, and they were challenging probably one of the oldest cannonball run records in existence, the famous record set by Dennis Mad Dog Massini in the dually truck. You watch the Cannonball Run movie, there's a scene where Dennis drives his truck, goes up the bank behind the Good Wife Shopping Center, takes down a fence, and turns on 95. Well, that run he did still stands today as the fastest truck in Cannonball. So they were making an attempt to break that record in this Ford Maverick hybrid. I loaned them 2 of my 32-gallon fuel tanks that I used on my nonstop run, and they had in the back of the truck. The goal that I set for this run was 42 hours. Basically, the Google Maps time. Their run was 34 hours. So we planned our start times so that we could arrive at the Portofino about the same time. So I left from Goodwives 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They were going to leave from the Red Ball Garage later that night at 10 o'clock. Several people come and witness it. We stood on top of the famous dumpster, had a safety briefing before we started. While standing on top of that dumpster, I didn't feel like I was qualified to be there, considering the people that have given drivers briefings from that, to me, sacred spot in the past. Brock Yates stood up there, John Ficara, Ben Wilson, Ed Bolian. It was quite an honor in some ways and funny in others to be standing there telling everyone to be safe. So the departure was pretty much uneventful. Just you set the cruise control and let go of the steering wheel. It was a whole complete different mindset. To log that verify the proof every hour on the hour, we took a short video logging the odometer reading of the car, how many minutes we had touched the steering wheel, and had an alarm that went off every hour to keep up with those times. We didn't use any extra fuel cells this time, so we had to make fuel stops. We stopped in rest area for rest breaks. Well, on one of the stops, truck stop is in Oklahoma. It's late at night. It was raining. A couple hours before, told the wife, I said, hey, the next stop, get a bottle of Gatorade. You men will know why. Don't need to dwell on that further. It's my job to gas up the car and clean the windshield. She went inside, got some supplies, come back out. And I said, hey, did you get the bottle of Gatorade? She said, no, I forgot it. I'll go in and get it. I said, no, it's okay. We'll get it to the next stop. Well, I had to pee. And there was no one around in the parking lot. Dark, it was raining. And I said, you know what? I'm going to use this bush over here instead of going all the way inside. She said, okay, I'll be good. And I see her getting in the car. I go use the bush, come back, get in the car, crank it up, pull out, get on the highway, set the cruise. My phone on my dash started ringing, and I looked at my wife. Now, in my mind, she was in the back of the car. I had took the back seat out and made a platform in it with a memory foam mattress. When we did driver changes, we wanted to, we could stretch out in the back and take a nap. Last thing I saw, she was getting in the back of the car. Phone starts ringing. I'm thinking she's accidentally butt dialing me. And I turn and go, hey, babe, your phone is. And it was at that moment I realized she was not in the car. How do you answer that? Literally on a cannonball run, I left my co-driver, my wife, accidentally at the truck stop. I had to answer the phone, say, yes, I now realize you're not in the car. I felt horrible. On the run, the common AI system worked absolutely flawless. Learned a new thing about it. There was a horrible, horrible accident in West Texas. And when we were logging the every hour, logging the odometer, there was 1 hour we drove only 1 mile. The next hour we only drove 7 miles, just sitting in traffic. It was a bad tractor trailer wreck. It was fire. The median and the highway, it was, put the fire, it was just black. Helicopters had to airlift people. That 2 hour delay ended up, we made the run in 43 hours, 18 minutes. Beat the previous record on a semi-autonomous run was 55 hours, so not nearly 12 hours off that record. But we did it in 98.4% autonomy. Over 43 hours, we only touched the steering wheel for a total of 39 minutes for a distance of 2,860 miles. If I'd have tried to do it in a semi-autonomous nonstop with the fuel tanks, I guarantee that number would be in the 99.5 or better, because just the rest area stops and the fuel stops, each one of them was anywhere from 1 minute to 3 minutes that it was adding to the cumulative time where it required a driver. Gypsy, she is a helper. She gets joy out of life of helping other people succeed. The only reason she wanted to be my co-driver on this was to help me achieve the dream and the goal of setting a new autonomous vehicle record. She really doesn't care. She's happy with what we've achieved. She's happier she helped me achieve this goal. We got to the Portofino. I surprised her. I purchased the Cannonball Run jacket from the VINwiki store and had it hidden in the car. And we got there and we're taking photographs and documenting our arrival time. And I went and got the jacket and presented it to her and said, "Welcome to the Fraternity of Lunatics. You're now a jacket-wearing member, have successfully and safely completed the Cannonball Run, and at the same time, you're now a Cannonball Run record holder." After this run, 2 days later, we took the fuel tanks out of the Ford Maverick, put them in the Prius, had Mason Dibley join me. We drove from Dog Beach in San Diego, Jacksonville Beach in Jacksonville, Florida, nonstop, no fuel stops, semi-autonomous. And we set the record for that. So did it in just under 33 hours, 97.8% autonomous, leads you to place. And so that had never been done before. There's been several nonstop runs on the Spanish Trail, but never semi-autonomous. So I guess it's 5 Cannonball Run records, including the car that has done the most runs. The previous car record for that was 4 times, done in a 1978 Oldsmobile Omega. Now my Prius has done 5 total runs, 3 Cannonballs and 2 Spanish Trails.
When you get a ticket, it might look something like this, but the first thing that you need to do is take a picture of that ticket and send it to 305 305. That will get the ticket clinic on your case immediately. They've got brick and mortar offices in Georgia, Florida, and California, but they can help you find a ticket no matter where you get it in the United States by helping you find a local attorney that will do everything they can to help you avoid costly fines, insurance premium increases, points on your license, risk of suspension, even jail time. They've helped me out with this ticket and many others, and a lot of my friends as well. So check them out now at the link in the description below, or again, text your ticket to 305 305 to get the ticket clinic on your case. They are the perfect partner in your fight against any speeding ticket.